where the gang was, it was essential to where I grew up. So I knew the community. I grew up in it, and I knew his dad. And I said, well, Steve, when I went to Steve, I said, I understand you leading the Magnificent 20. He said, yeah. I said, well, what are you doing, man? He says, I said, well, can I help y'all? You know what I mean? Because I'm hearing negative stuff. And he says, well, we have a couple of people, but they come and they leave. And that was my connection with him. Now, my connection really what certified when you say you're going to help them, they're going to call you 2 o'clock in the morning. The question is, are you going to respond? So every time they called me, I was always there, whether it was a school issue, whether it was a fight, because everybody falls. You know what I mean? The question is picking itself up. Maybe a month later, my brother was kind of like halfway strung out, doing drugs, selling drugs. He was on Barber Street. I was trying to help him. Mother said, what you gonna do about your brother? Trying to get him out of town to a drug treatment program, and had tried to get him something to work, and was talking to some people up there. They had a job for him, and I thought maybe the job would help him, and we would help him. And what happened, he got in an incident with one of the dudes on Barber Street, and they were arguing about one of his boys broke into the shop, and instead of him, it wasn't him, but he was taking up for his friend, and he turned his back, and the guy hit him. And when he hit him, he hit his spine on the curb, and he became paralyzed. So I got this call, somebody said, your brother's hurt, he's in the hospital. We took him up, someone took him to the hospital. So I go up there figuring he's kind of like all right, and then he's crying, and they said he couldn't move, he was paralyzed. Stephen was with me at the time, and when we went up there, and so I said, I'm looking at him, and I said, and he's looking at me, he says, you gotta get him. He hit me, I turned my back, he hit me for no reason at all. I didn't do anything to him, and now I'm messed up. And so I go out to get my guns, which I had guns because I used to work in Colts. So I had guns, I go out and get my guns, and I'm going to kill him. Stephen's with me and said, what are you doing? And so at that point I said, well, look, Stevie, he hurt my brother. He said, well, isn't you telling us not to go to war, and you're about to go to war? He said, well, Brother Carl, if that's what you do, your word don't mean anything. You can't do that. It's not going to bring your brother back. He's going to still be paralyzed, and you're going to be locked up. And how are you going to help us? So that's when I had to take a step back, and I had to think about what he said. I said, well, he said, well, if you do that, your word don't mean anything. What you're telling us doesn't mean anything about what you're about to do. And that's when we're able to really solidify a relationship. Because in a sense, he saved me from going to jail, where I was saving him for possibly getting killed. There was a situation that happened up in Stowe Village. Big drug dealer up there. And they had raided a fella named Kiki. They had raided the house, and they knew he had a lot of drugs up there. And the feds were coming to bust him. He held the baby up in the window, and he said, if you come up here, I'm going to kill this baby. The house he was in, on the 3rd floor. So they were scared, and what he was doing was getting rid of all the drugs, flushing it down. And then he came and he turned himself over. So then the media came to me, and they wanted to do a story on Kiki. And they said, we want to do a story because we know your name came up, and we know you've been talking to him. So I said, look, I'll do the story on Kiki going to jail if you do the story on Rodriguez from the same project, from a family of 6, 7, went to Yale. Because if you push the negative, and that's all they see. Then they got to see someone in the same neighborhood, same poverty line, but they went to Yale. How did Kiki? We know how Kiki went to Yale, but how did Rodriguez go to Yale? So if you're gonna do the story, if you can't do the story on Rodriguez, then I can't do the story on Kiki. So she said, well, we want to focus on Kiki, so we didn't do the story.